Hey there guys, let's talk about this upcoming fight on the September 21st bill between Joshua Buatsi and Willy Hutchinson. Just looking at this card for what it is, I believe this is probably the most competitive fight on the card. In all the other matchups, I can decipher a clear winner. Joshua Dubois, there's only one winner. Shiraz versus Denny's a mismatch. We have Liam Smith versus Josh Kelly. I suppose you could say that's fairly competitive as well, just based on which version of Liam Smith turns up. Chamberlain versus Padley, probably a mismatch. Then you've got Kakache versus Warrington, which is pretty easy to pick at this point, I would say. But this fight, I've actually been having a really difficult time trying to decide who actually wins this fight. Now, I can see scenarios where both guys win this fight. Now, I think both guys have some of the same flaws. And I think there's no one clear fighter who's better in this fight. I think they both have very good attributes, and I think they're better than each other in very different departments. I think both of these guys are defensively limited. I think Joshua Buatsi gets hit a lot. He's quite stationary. He does get tagged a lot in his fights. You watch any of his fights, the Craig Richards fight, you watch his last fight against Dan Aziz, you watch the Bolotnik's fight, those guys aren't world level fighters, they're just sort of European level or even below in some of them, and Willy Hutchinson is more the same. Willy Hutchinson is someone who has a lot of defensive flaws. One of the big problems with him is that he fights with his chin in the air, he keeps his hands down. And he gets cracked clean, even in his last fight, he was getting cracked in the later rounds by Craig Richards. He got knocked out by Lennox Clark a couple of years ago. He got knocked out in 5 rounds. Brutally knocked out. He was wobbling about when he got up from that knockdown. And I know he was weight drained, but Lennox Clark was able to show a lot of this guy's flaws. And I think someone who applies educated pressure and is able to get inside on him, he's going to be able to give him a really tough fight. And to me, these guys are fairly similar in some departments. They can both box, they can both, fight on the front foot, they can both be aggressive. I'd say Willy Hutchinson probably hits a bit harder. Joshua Buatsi, he can punch. He has a bit of power. But I'd say Willy Hutchinson, he's very sharp, he's very explosive. He has sort of surprising power. He sort of leads with like left hooks, right hands. And he's very sharp, very explosive, very fast. And he can surprise his opponents, just with how sharp and accurate his shots are. Buatsi's a bit slower, but I still think he has a decent bit of power. He has scored quite a lot of stoppage in his career, and he's hurt a lot of guys. And I think the power side does favour Willy Hutchinson just because of how explosive he is. And in this fight, it'll be very interesting to see how Joshua Buatsi takes a shot from Willy Hutchinson. I'd say this is probably the biggest puncher he's fought to date in his career. Buatsi's fought some guys who have decent power. I'd say Dan Aziz has decent power. But then, you look at no one else in his career is really a noted puncher. And I think this fight's going to tell us a lot about how he takes a shot. He's taken the shot well in his career so far. He hasn't shown a chin issue. But I think this fight will definitely show us how well he's able to take a shot against, someone who punches like Willy Hutchinson. I think Buatsi's shown that he's tougher in his career so far. Hutchinson, he's been hurt quite a few times. He was hurt in his last fight. He got stopped by Clark, obviously. And a lot of people are making out the fact that Hutchinson struggled down the stretch in his last fight. Willy Hutchinson, he's someone who hasn't been 12 rounds before that fight. I don't know how many rounds he actually went, whether it was 7 or maybe even less. But he wasn't experienced over the 12-round distance. He didn't know how to pace himself. He wasn't experienced enough over that over 12 rounds. And in this fight, I expect him to be managing his stamina a lot better. I don't think he'll gaslight in the fight this time around. Unless he does have stamina issues. But I just think it was just something where, he hadn't done 12 rounds before, so he didn't really know how to pace himself. And I think Willy Hutchinson's a bit better on the outside. I think he has the better boxing skills than Buatsi. That's not to say that Buatsi doesn't have skills. Both of these guys were high-level amateurs. But I just think Hutchinson showed that he can box on the outside a lot more efficiently. He can use those sharp, explosive, accurate shots. He was outboxing Craig Richards, who's a pretty good boxer from long range. Craig Richards was able to give, Dimitri Bivol a couple of problems from long range. And Hutchinson was able to dominate that fight. And I think Buatsi's a bit more efficient on the inside from what I've seen from his fights. He's quite good on the inside, he's quite good coming forward. And I think that's going to be the tail of the fight. I think Hutchinson's going to be trying to keep this fight on the outside. He's going to be trying to catch Buatsi on the way in. He's just going to be trying to really put the pain on Buatsi from the outside. And I think Buatsi's probably going to come forward. I think he's going to try and get on the inside. I think he's going to try and drown Willy Hutchinson with his pressure. Land like a big swinging right hand that he tends to throw. And I think he can give Hutchinson problems, but likewise, I think Hutchinson can give Buatsi problems from the outside. So I just think it's a very difficult fight to pick. I've had to go back and watch a lot of footage of both of these guys. I think Willy Hutchinson is the more naturally gifted fighter. I think he's a better athlete, to be honest. I think, as I mentioned, with his speed and just, how explosive he is, his power, I think he's the better athlete, but I probably think Joshua Buatsi's got more experience. I definitely think Buatsi's fought the better guys. He's got a better resume. He's been tested a lot more in his career than Hutchinson has. And he's unbeaten, obviously. Willy Hutchinson lost to Clark. I know he's weight drained, but Lennox Clark isn't that a great fighter or anything like that. He got stopped by Mark Heffron. I believe he lost quite clearly to Lerone Richards. So he's not at a very high level. And just looking at the fight, I can see Buatsi doing something similar to what Lennox Clark did. I think that come forward pressure style. If Buatsi can avoid getting hurt badly by Hutchinson's shots, avoid getting tagged on the way in too heavily, I think he's going to give Hutchinson a lot of problems. And he might be able to do something similar to what Clark did. Just catch him with like a big swinging right hand or a left hook and put him down. Because Hutchinson, he's not easy to find. He's not hard to find. He's not hard to hit. He fights with his chin in the air. He fights with his hands down. And I think that type of fight favours Joshua Buatsi. But again, we don't really know how Buatsi's going to hold a shot from Hutchinson. Whether he's just going to be able to walk through those shots, like Craig Richards did. So yeah, I just think it's a very hard fight to predict. I can see both guys winning. I think a stoppage win is probably more likely for Buatsi. And a point win is probably more likely for Hutchinson. But again, I think, Hutchinson could probably knock Buatsi out. And Buatsi could probably beat Hutchinson on points just based on aggression, and he might knock him down. So yeah, I've been struggling to pick in this fight. I think, I've favoured Hutchinson to win some of the time, and then I favoured Buatsi. But I think, for now, I think I'm going to go with Joshua Buatsi to win this fight. And I'm probably going to go by a stoppage. I just think, I didn't really like what I saw from Hutchinson in that fight, in the Clark fight. Just based on how Clark was easily walking him down, putting him on the ropes, landing big shots. And Hutchinson really didn't have any defense when he was on the ropes. He was just getting cracked with like big shots. And I definitely think Hutchinson can knock Buatsi out if he lands the perfect shots, the perfect combination. He can at least put him down. But I just think Buatsi, he's a bit more. I think he's better defensively than Hutchinson. Even though he's a bit limited, I think Buatsi has a better guard. I think he's shown he has a better chin so far. And I just favour Buatsi to just walk him down. I think he'll, apply that pressure. I think he'll be able to walk him back to the ropes and just, outwork him. But again, Buatsi's someone who's a bit wild. He tends to throw shots quite wildly. He tends to swing with big shots, put everything into those shots. He's not someone who just point scores, just looks to add the points up on the scorecards. He's someone who looks for the knockout, with pretty much every power shot he throws. And Hutchinson's pretty much the same. I mean, he's not looking to go the distance. He's putting power on every shot he throws, trying to throw really explosive shots. So it's a really difficult fight to pick. I wouldn't be at all surprised if either guy won this fight. But I do think I do ever so slightly favour Joshua Buatsi to win this fight by stoppage. As I said, I just think he'll walk him down, he'll march him down, he'll put him on the ropes. I think he might, land some really clean shots on the ropes. I think he'll throw some really eye-catching, unusual, big swinging right hands, overhand rights that could just land on Hutchinson's chin, which he doesn't see coming. The way Hutchinson fights, he fights with his hands down. And when he's getting hit on the chin, he's getting cracked cleanly. He doesn't use a guard. He's not using a high guard to partially block some of that shot, like other guys do. Buatsi's got a lot more of a guard. He uses a bit of a shoulder roll. He uses a high guard at times, and he's just more adept at blocking punches. So I just think, all in all, I think Buatsi by stoppage, just coming forward, applying that pressure. I think he'll put Hutchinson down with a big shot. I think he'll find that shot, and I just think Hutchinson's defensive liabilities will cost him. But again, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Hutchinson just get this fight from long range, tagged Buatsi with explosive combinations. And I wouldn't be surprised with a Hutchinson stoppage either. If Buatsi is too reckless, or he's just coming in with his hands down, or he's just trying to show that macho streak that he shows sometimes in his career. He could get cracked, he could get caught, he could get knocked out. So to me, this is a 50-50 fight, but I can see it going either way. Buatsi's actually a big favourite in this fight, with the odds makers. I don't really think that's right at all, to be honest. I think this fight's a lot closer than they have it. But yeah, right now, gut instinct is telling me that Joshua Buatsi is going to win this fight. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And yeah, thanks for watching. God bless.